What would you say if a cop told you to step to the back of your car right now? If you answer the wrong way, that simple walk can turn into questions, a search, and handcuffs fast. And the worst part is, you can give away your rights before you even touch the pavement. Before I reveal the exact words, hit subscribe right now so you can find this video when a real stop happens. And tap like, because what you're about to hear could keep you from talking yourself into a criminal case. Here's the reality. When an officer tells you to step to the back, that moment is not small. That is the moment your traffic stop can turn into a fishing trip. Your job is not to act tough. Your job is to stay calm, stay legal, and make the officer stay inside the real reason for the stop. In this video, you're going to learn the exact line to say before you move, the sentence that blocks consent searches, the words that stop you from feeding the officer extra evidence, and the question that can end a dragged-out stop. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the pattern is always the same. Drivers who talk too much get buried. Drivers who stay calm do better. If you ever drive at night, travel with cash, have a messy car, or just look nervous under pressure, this matters to you more than you think. Now let's talk about why this moment is so dangerous for you. When the officer gets you to the back of the car, you're away from your stuff, away from your doors, and standing in the perfect spot for small talk that is not really small talk. That is where the officer starts reading your face, your voice, your hands, and your answers. Most people have no idea that the real danger is not always the ticket. It's the conversation after the ticket reason. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. The move to the back is often the setup, not the end. If you joke, overshare, explain too much, or try to prove you're a good person, you can hand them everything they need to stretch the stop. You say you're tired. You say you're coming from a friend's house. You say you were in a hurry. You say there's nothing illegal in the car. That sounds harmless. It isn't. Your words can become the whole case. So when the officer says step to the back, your first move is not to argue. Your first move is to lock the stop into a clear reason. You look at the officer and say this: "Officer, I will comply. Before I move, am I being detained, and for what reason?" Word for word. Memorize that line. Let me show you exactly why that line matters. First, you are telling the officer you will comply. That helps you. You do not want to sound like you are refusing a lawful order. Pennsylvania versus Mims says an officer can order a driver out of the car during a lawful traffic stop. So do not fight the step itself. That is not where your power is. Your power is in making the officer say out loud why you are being held. If the reason is speeding, then speeding is the lane. If the reason is a broken light, then broken light is the lane. The more clearly the reason is said, the harder it is to turn your stop into a wide-open investigation with no limits. This is 100% legal. You are not insulting the officer. You're not resisting. You're asking a clear question before you move. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the tone right away. Instead of you walking back like a scared kid waiting for trouble, you become a calm person who knows the stop has rules. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Okay, what did I do?" Then they start talking, guessing, and apologizing. They end up giving away extra facts the officer never had before. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I will comply. Before I move, am I being detained, and for what reason?" Then the officer has to answer inside the real stop, and your record starts cleaner. Watch what happens when you use that line. The stop gets narrower. The conversation gets more formal. The officer knows you are paying attention. That matters because sloppy stops love sloppy drivers. Calm drivers are harder to push around. Now, if the officer repeats the order, you move calmly. You keep your hands where they can be seen. You do not yank your door. You do not reach into pockets. You do not suddenly turn. You step out slowly. Your goal is to look safe and sound respectful. Your aim is to keep the stop from growing legs. That is how smart drivers protect themselves. Not with attitude, not with shouting, with clean words and clean timing. And there's one more reason this line helps you. If this ever gets reviewed later, your first words matter. They show you were compliant. They show you asked for the reason. They show you did not volunteer random facts. That can help your lawyer later if the stop turns ugly. Think you could stay this calm during a real stop? Tell me in the comments, because the next line is the one that saves drivers from just let me take a quick look. Once you're at the back of the car, the officer may shift from command mode into friendly mode. That is where many drivers fall apart. The officer might say, "You don't have anything illegal, right?" Or, "Mind if I check the car real quick?" Or, "If you've got nothing to hide, we'll be done in a minute." Your answer needs to be short and clean. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize that line. This line is gold because consent changes everything. In Schneckloth versus Bustamante, the court said a search is legal if consent was voluntary. Read that in plain English. If you say yes, your yes can do the heavy lifting for them. And in Ohio versus Robinette, the court said officers do not have to tell you that you are free to go before asking for consent. That means you cannot wait for some magic warning. You must protect yourself with your own mouth. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it creates a clean record. It does not matter if the officer searches anyway. Hear me clearly. You do not physically stop the search. You do not pull away. You do not slap hands. You do not block doors. You simply say the line once, calmly and clearly. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. If they search anyway, your lawyer has a better shot later. If you say yes, you may have just buried your own defense. Bad way. Most drivers say, I guess that's fine. I don't have anything to hide. Then the search becomes your idea, not theirs, and your rights get thinner fast. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer must either stop, get real legal grounds, or own the choice to search without your permission. You should also know why officers ask in a casual voice. They want your answer to sound casual too. They want sure, or go ahead, or whatever. That is all consent. One weak little word can wreck you. So your line has to be stronger than your nerves. And do not add extra words. Do not say, there's nothing in there anyway. Do not say, you can search the trunk, just not the bag. Do not say, I'm fine with it if you're quick. Every extra word can open a new door. Keep it locked. Keep it simple. Say the line. Stop talking. If the officer says, why not? Do not debate. If the officer says, only guilty people refuse, do not take the bait. If the officer says, I can get a dog, do not panic. Your line stays the same. Calm voice. Same words. No consent. The next mistake is the one that destroys people who think they can talk their way out of trouble. Once you're standing there, the officer may start tossing easy questions at you. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Why are you nervous? Who owns the car? Have you ever been arrested? Listen closely because this is critical. You do not win that game by being charming. You win by giving what you must give and shutting the rest down. Here's what you say. Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance, but I choose to remain silent. Word for word. That is your wall. Berkmer v. McCarty matters here. The Supreme Court said routine roadside traffic stops usually do not count as custody for Miranda right away. Plain English. You may be talking before any warning is read, and your words can still hurt you. That is why silence matters so much on the roadside. People think the chat doesn't count because rights weren't read. Wrong. That is how people walk themselves into charges. This is 100% legal. You can be respectful and still say less. You still provide the documents you're required to provide. You do not lie. Never lie. Lying gives them a whole new problem to pin on you, but you do not owe them a free interview about your whole day. Bad way? Most drivers say, I'm just coming from my cousin's place and heading home. I had one drink hours ago. Then the officer hears alcohol, nerves, attitude, and maybe inconsistency. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I'll provide my license, registration, and insurance, but I choose to remain silent. Then the officer gets the documents and you stop feeding the stop. You may wonder, won't that make you look guilty? Maybe to some officers. But talking too much makes you look guilty too. Silence gives them less to work with. That is why calm silence beats nervous explaining almost every time. There is one limit you should know. In some places, state law requires your name during a valid stop. That came up in Hebel. So give the basic identifying information you're legally required to give. But once you've done that, stop volunteering your story. Your life story is not part of a broken taillight stop. And if the officer keeps asking, you stay steady. I choose to remain silent. Same tone, same pace. No speech, no debate, no anger. That is how you protect yourself from an interview. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. If you're still here, you're already ahead of them. Hit that like button, because this next question is the one that can stop a fishing expedition cold. Now let's talk about the line that matters when the traffic business should be over. This is where a lot of stops go sideways. You get your warning or ticket and documents back. And then comes one more friendly question. Hey, before you go, mind if I ask you something? That is the moment you need this line. You look at the officer and say this, Officer, is the traffic stop over and am I free to leave? Those exact words. In Rodriguez versus United States, the Supreme Court said that police cannot stretch a traffic stop longer than needed. Once the traffic job is done, they cannot keep you there just to go fishing. Your question forces the moment into the open. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection against the slow, casual extension. If they say yes, leave quietly. If the officer says no, now the record is clear. The stop is no longer pretending to be casual. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, is the traffic stop over and am I free to leave? Watch what happens. The fog disappears, the stop either ends, or the officer owns the detention. This all comes straight from rulings like Pennsylvania versus Mims, Schneckloth, Berkmer, and Rodriguez. You do not have to invite a search or answer phishing questions. Once the traffic part is done, they cannot keep you. Stay calm, stay clear, stay inside the law and make them do the same. Picture this. You miss a turn signal. Lights flash. You pull over and hand over documents. The officer says, "Step to the back." Use the right way. Ask if you are being detained. Choose silence for phishing questions. Refuse consent for searches. Ask if you are free to leave when finished. In the right version, you stayed respectful and protected the record every step of the way. Next video, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it. Lock these lines into your head. Comply, but ask why detained. Do not consent to searches. Provide and required documents and choose silence. Ask if you're free to leave at the end. You do not need a speech. You need 4 clean lines, a calm voice, and the discipline to stop talking. Hit subscribe so you catch that weed smell video next. Smash, like if this saved your future self. Drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.